Welcome to Greek for a Week. We are considering the next two verses here in chapter 5 of First Peter. So we're looking at verses 8 and 9, and this is the final paragraph, 6 through 11. The final paragraph, that would be verses 12 through 14. That would be considered the conclusion or the greeting, which I will walk through. But the final substantive paragraph would be chapter 5, verses 6 through 11. So these two verses, 8 and 9, are probably fairly familiar to most of us, but we'll work through them and make note of a couple of things that I think will be helpful. So Peter says, be sober, be watchful, or be on alert. Your adversary, the devil, he walks around or prowls like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in your faith, knowing that the same experiences of suffering are being accomplished by your brethren in the world. So these two verses here, they begin with two imperatives. Both of these here are imperatives, and they are second person plural, aorist, active imperatives, and they kind of give us a combination here, or a like admonition, and that is really the concept here is to be watchful. That might be the best way to capture both of these. Be watchful. And then in that concept, as he moves forward in the text, he says that there is an adversary. So here's our adversary, and then he follows it up with diabolos, which would be your nominative of apposition. That is further describing who the adversary is. Then zeton. Here is another participle here. We'll see a couple of participles throughout the text. So this participle is a present active participle, masculine nominative singular of zeteo. Likely it's a participle of manner. That is, how does the devil walk around or prowl around? You could say by seeking, and seeking specifically someone here. And then our infinitive of purpose, kata pain here is our infinitive of purpose, and that is to devour. Aorist active infinitive of kata pino. So verse 9, then, as we move our way down, you have a perfect active participle, masculine nominative plural of oida, that's edetas. That's a causal participle, or a participle of cause. We want to resist him, the him being the devil. We want to be firm in our faith. Why? Because really or knowing, that's the same concept really. Because or knowing, what is it that you know? You know that there's some experiences of suffering. There's sufferings here, and they're being accomplished here. This verb down here, being accomplished, a present passive infinitive form of epiteleo. Probably an indirect discourse, especially following the verb knowing, or the participle knowing, being accomplished. And then by, I chose the word by, so by your brethren here. By your brethren, a dative of agency. We would choose agency here because it's personal rather than an inanimate object. So this is personal here. And then, of course, in the world, that's a spatial dative, and that is where it is that it's located that these experiences of suffering are taking place. So that's verses 8 and 9. I trust it's been helpful for you, and really trust that the entire study through the whole book of First Peter has been a big help. I'm going to look at verses 10 and 11 next week, and then the following week we'll diagram all of 6 through 11. Thank you so much for listening, for following along. Trust it's been a help. We'll see you next week.